Today is Thursday, October 6th. What to know about President Biden's trip to Florida to survey the damage from Hurricane Ian and a show of unity between political rivals while he was there. Also, we'll explain the new court ruling about the decade-old DACA program and what it means for hundreds of thousands of immigrants brought to the U.S. as children. Plus, a settlement over the deadly shooting on the set of the movie Rust, how Ukraine is trying to host the world's biggest soccer tournament, and 2 reasons the latest SpaceX launch is historic. Those stories and more news to know next. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. Well, we saw a rare show of unity among 2 political rivals this week with a shared goal of helping victims of Hurricane Ian. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis welcomed President Biden to his state with a public handshake, and the 2 went to work, surveying the destruction from the storm and discussing how the federal government could help. Both leaders are potential 2024 presidential candidates, and as they'll tell you, they have very different political philosophies. But both appeared to put politics aside for this visit, at least for the most part. They were side by side in some of Florida's hardest hit areas and held a joint news conference. Biden said, quote, "Today we have one job and only one job, and that's to make sure the people in Florida get everything they need to thoroughly recover." Biden praised DeSantis' handling of the recovery in the wake of Hurricane Ian and said the 2 were in complete lockstep when dealing with this crisis. DeSantis detailed how the president was helping them speed up access to the emergency services and help with Florida's needs, saying, quote, "We appreciate the team effort." During the visit, the White House approved Florida's request to extend federal disaster assistance. More than 100 people have died from the storm, so Ian is shaping up to be the deadliest hurricane to pound Florida since 1935. With tens of billions of dollars in damage, the cleanup could take months. The rebuilding could take years. With the stroke of a pen and months of bloody fighting, Russian President Vladimir Putin officially added 4 regions of Ukraine into Russian territory. Well, at least that's what Putin claims, despite it being in violation of international laws. Putin also declared Russia was taking over Europe's largest nuclear power plant, which is in Ukraine. But Ukraine's leaders are calling the moves a criminal act, and a number of world leaders, including President Biden, say they will not recognize the areas as part of Russia. Also, despite Putin's declarations, the reality on the ground is much more complicated. Battles are raging all around the newly annexed areas. Inside some of them, Ukrainian forces are actually regaining some of their lost land. Still, Putin says they will defend the land with everything their military has, including nuclear weapons. Meanwhile, Ukraine is trying to fast-track its membership into NATO. If Ukraine does become part of NATO, other NATO countries would be obligated to join in on the war and come to their defense. Though a top former military commander says it is very unlikely Ukraine would be able to join NATO while still in the middle of a war. Still, many NATO countries like the U.S. are supplying Ukraine with the weapons and resources to help them fight back. A new appeals court ruling found the decade-old program called DACA is unlawful. DACA stands for Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. It's meant to allow nearly 600,000 immigrants to live and work in the U.S. without fear of deportation. These so-called dreamers were brought to the U.S. illegally as babies and children before 2007, and they meet other requirements. Well, now the future of the program is in question. A 3-judge panel decided the Obama-era program violated U.S. immigration law and was presidential overreach, that instead Congress would need to step in for something like this. Despite that, the court did not cancel the program immediately. DACA will stay intact for those currently getting benefits from it, at least while a lower court judge reviews it. But no one new can join the program. Now the Biden administration is calling on Congress to act and provide a pathway to citizenship for dreamers. And actually, both Democrats and some Republicans support creating a permanent legal status for dreamers, but lawmakers haven't passed anything, likely due to disagreements over other immigration-related measures that they think should go with this. So what comes next? The Biden administration is expected to file a formal appeal, and that could lead to the U.S. Supreme Court giving a final decision on DACA next year. It's been nearly a year since a cinematographer was shot and killed on the set of the movie Rust. And now there's a settlement between the family of the victim, Helena Hutchins, and the Rust team, including actor and producer Alec Baldwin. Remember, Baldwin was filming on the set of Rust when the gun he was holding went off. Hutchins was killed, and the film's director was also hurt. Hutchins' family sued Baldwin and others earlier this year, saying her death was due to negligence on set. Now, everyone involved in the settlement said the focus is to do what's best for Helena's 9-year-old son. We don't know many details of the deal yet, but Hutchins' husband will now become an executive producer on the film. He said in a statement that they all believe his wife's death was a terrible accident. The movie is now set to start filming once again in January. Baldwin will still be in the movie, and the film's director, who was hurt, will also return. So far, prosecutors in New Mexico, where it happened, have not filed criminal charges against anyone, but the case is still open. For only the 5th time ever, someone has won their 2nd Nobel Prize. Dr. Barry Sharpless, along with 3 others, took home the prize for chemistry. They won for their work in what's known as click chemistry, where molecules are said to snap together quickly. A Stanford professor is the other American to win. Dr. Carolyn Batosi became only the 8th woman to win the Nobel Prize for chemistry. The other winner is a chemist at the University of Copenhagen. Their work is now being used to treat and diagnose illnesses. Next up, the Nobel Prize in Literature will be awarded today and Nobel Peace Prize tomorrow. All right, we have much more news still ahead, but first, let's take a quick break for our sponsor. It's almost that time of year where your health insurance plan is going to be top of mind. The open enrollment period is when you'll be signing up for next year's coverage. And whether you're switching plans or not, you may be looking for new doctors. Well, ZocDoc is a free app that shows you doctors who are patient-reviewed, take your insurance, and are available when you need them. It'll help you sort through doctors that are in-network and in your neighborhood. And it shows you availability right there. Plus, the mobile app is as easy as ordering a ride to a restaurant, allowing you to search, find, and book doctors with a few taps. You can choose to book an appointment in person or remotely. Every month, millions of people use ZocDoc, and I look at it whenever I need to find a new doctor. Go to ZocDoc.com/newsworthy and download the ZocDoc app for free. Then start your search for a top-rated doctor today. Many are available within 24 hours. That's ZocDoc, ZocDoc.com/newsworthy. ZocDoc.com/newsworthy. For the first time ever, a Native American woman is in space. Nicole Mann, a veteran Marine Corps pilot, is on board a SpaceX capsule headed to the International Space Station. For the next 6 months, she and 3 other crewmates will conduct hundreds of experiments. Mann is from a tribe in Northern California and is also the first woman to command the Dragon capsule. It was 20 years ago this year that John Harrington became the first Native American man in space. Also on board, despite tensions over Russia's war in Ukraine, is a Russian cosmonaut. That's Russia's version of an astronaut. She is now the first Russian to fly on a private American spacecraft. U.S. and Russia have long cooperated when it comes to space, but lately that cooperation has been tested like never before. Ukraine might be in the middle of a war, fighting off an invasion, but that's not stopping them from applying to co-host the biggest soccer tournament in the world. Ukraine has joined Spain and Portugal's combined effort to host the FIFA World Cup in 2030. If chosen, the 3 countries would split the duties of hosting games. Of course, with the intense fighting, missile attacks, and changing battlefields, the situation in Ukraine is far too dangerous at the moment for them to host any major sports tournament. Their current bid for the World Cup has them looking to a better future. Ukraine will have 8 years to find peace and stability. Ukraine does have some experience hosting a major international soccer tournament. In 2012, they co-hosted the European Championship Tournament. Ukraine, Portugal, and Spain are one of a handful of groups of countries pushing for the World Cup honors. A decision on the chosen host countries will likely be announced in the coming months. This year's tournament, though, will take place in Qatar, the first Middle Eastern country to host the World Cup. Then the 2026 edition was awarded to 3 countries, Canada, Mexico, and the U.S. Stay tuned for who will get 2030. What would you do if you were offered $2 million for a baseball? That happened to Corey Yeomans. He's the guy who caught Yankee slugger Aaron Judge's record-setting home run ball. The AP reports the owner of a sports memorabilia auction house offered the $2 million. But as far as we know, he has not yet accepted it. The owner says he called and texted Yeomans, but he hasn't responded yet. Right after catching Judge's 60-second home run ball, Yeomans said he wasn't sure what he was going to do with it next. Yeomans, who works in finance, might be holding out for an even bigger payday. Some estimate the ball could be worth as much as $4 million. Stay tuned. Well, Spotify is taking an even bigger step to moderate the content on its app. The audio streaming giant announced it just bought Kinzen. That's a content moderation tech firm based in Ireland. Spotify had already been working with Kinzen for the last several years, using its tech to help filter through audio on the platform, no matter what language or country it might be coming from. It uses AI and human expertise to analyze any hate speech or potentially harmful content before it gets to listeners. This new acquisition now comes after Spotify faced controversy about this very issue earlier this year. Mostly, there was backlash about what guests claimed about COVID-19 vaccines on Joe Rogan's popular podcast. Some artists pulled their music off the platform because of it, and hundreds of doctors and scientists wrote an open letter to Spotify demanding the company take action. Although others argued Spotify should allow it and allow all free speech. In response, though, Spotify still revised its policies about misinformation and started an advisory board over the summer to review controversial content. Well, now it seems Spotify is doing even more. The company said the acquisition shows its commitment to creating a safe experience for creators and users. That is the main news today, so now it's time for Thing to Know Thursday. But first, thanks to our sponsor, BetterHelp. As a business owner, I am often faced with new challenges, and sometimes they feel out of my control. And sometimes they really are. But I've worked hard to either address my reaction to it or focus on what I can solve for. Same goes for my personal life. And having a therapist has helped have this problem-solving mindset. I actually started therapy after starting my business, and I'm not sure I would have stuck with it for so long without it. Yes, a therapist can help you think in a different way, ultimately making you more resilient and helping you become a better problem solver. If you're thinking of giving therapy a try, BetterHelp is an option that is accessible and affordable, and it's entirely online. It's important to find the right one for you, that you feel comfortable with and that actually makes a difference, so BetterHelp allows you to switch therapists anytime. When you want to be a better problem solver, therapy can get you there. Visit betterhelp.com/newsworthy today to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/newsworthy. Okay, now back to Thing to Know Thursday. Well, it seems many people who buy electric vehicles do not go back to gas-powered. The news outlet Axios is tracking the historic shift away from gasoline, and it says based on vehicle registration data, most electric vehicle owners are buying electric for their next car, too. Axios says 2/3 of households who bought a new car this year and already owned an electric one bought a second electric. And that's up from just less than half who did the same last year. The U.S. still lags China and Europe when it comes to buying EVs, but America is moving in that direction. For now, at least, Tesla is dominating the space here. Just 2 Tesla models accounted for 51% of all new electric vehicle registrations in the month of July. Of course, that could change as other car makers invest more and more in electric and consumers get more options across cars, SUVs, pickups, and vans. Well, thank you so much for listening today. We so appreciate your support, whether that's sharing the show, leaving a review, or becoming a Newsworthy Insider. We'll catch you up on more news to know tomorrow. Episodes are available by 4 a.m. Until then, have a great day.